Hello everyone, welcome back to another one of our exciting live streams. I'm just getting comfortable inside the front seat of this glorious DC-6. I had to bring this thing along tonight because, I mean, we're in Panama and Panama, forget it, whatever. Plus, this is an absolutely awesome plane, and I think it's kind of fun to play with things like this. Our flight tonight will be taking us over the Panama Canal. We're also going to get to see a couple different airports. And since I don't have GPS, it also means I got to do some old school navigation tonight. So this is going to be kind of interesting. So let's go ahead and get this thing started. A 50-50 shot if the thing actually starts. I've actually had a heck of a time trying to get this thing going from time to time, and I appreciate that because in the real world these things are quite a bear from time to time. So let's go ahead and do it. Engine selected number 3. Let's make sure we got fuel coming into it. Let's make sure our fuel tank selectors are good. Make sure we have fuel inside those fuel tank selectors. Make sure my boost pumps are on. Okay, let's see if it actually starts here. So we're gonna click that, click that.
3, 6.
Come on. Come on. You know you want to start. You know you want to start. Come on. Come on. Yes! We got one! Excellent. All right, we're off to a good start tonight. I like this already. All right, let's go ahead and double check the RPM on this thing because I don't need this thing to rumble itself to pieces just yet tonight. All right, go ahead and pop it to number 4. Go ahead and crank it. Hit the prime first. Boost. Start. Listen for the propellers.
3, 6.
Come on, baby.
9.
Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. This thing still starts easier than the Cessna 172 I usually fly, though. Come on, come on, you can do it! There it goes. Yes! That's 2! All right, let's go ahead and get those other ones going as well. Stick my head up here. Haha, nice. 1, 2. I'm going to snap that position right there. We're going to go ahead and try to get this one going as well. As usual, we'll prime, we'll boost it. Go ahead and pop those two together. Listen.
3, 6. 9.
That should do it. Let's see if it catches right away. Come on, come on, come on. You know you want to catch. You know you want to catch. One of my buddies has a guy who flies these DC-6s actually up in Alaska, and one of the most common things that happens is they hit what they call a 3-engine takeoff because one of the engines just does not want to start that day. And they've even mentioned, too, that sometimes you can get the engine to start on the primer, but not on the actual engine itself, which is just kind of one of those things. It's like, oh, great. This thing going. One more engine to go, and then we'll be on our way.
6.
All right, come on, come on. Let's do it. Let's do it.
12.
Don't be that 1 inch. There it goes. Yes. Excellent. I had to start a little early. No, you don't. Nice. All right, we are good. Let's go ahead and get the after start checklist. And we'll go ahead and talk about our flight today. So today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be flying, like I said, from basically the middle of Panama over to the where the Panama Canal is, and we're going to make our way down the canal, and we're going to be landing near the Panama City. One thing we'll be doing today is I have no GPS on here, so we're going to be doing a little bit of VOR navigation tonight. So what I have done already is I've gone ahead and set my primary navigation channel as 109 degrees. There's my frequency here. This is going to go ahead and get us to the VOR station, which is located. We're actually going to fly direct. Once you've done that, by the way, whatever device you're using for the purposes of indicating what heading you want to be on about a 44-degree heading or so. That should get us there pretty successfully. So let's go ahead and call up our before takeoff checklist and slowly make our way onto the runway. Man, this thing's huge. So one thing I'm going to do, first of all, is get myself as far onto this runway as I can. Ooh, come on. Yeah, could you imagine flying one of these things? It just blows me away that they still do for a bunch of cargo services. All right, nice and lined up. All right, we got it. Pull that RPM back. I don't think it needs to be that high. Come on down here. I'm going to go ahead and order up a wet takeoff, which sounds much, much cooler than it really is. All right, let's do it.
30 inches stabilize. 30 inches stabilize.
Here we go. Now, a few of you have mentioned already in the chat something about a vertigo. Do you want to explain what that is?
Stabilize.
Yeah, 32, whatever.
Kill flaps. Cowl flaps set. Full power, please.
I feel like I'm getting ready for a B-29 mission over Japan here. There it goes. Listen to that sound. Okay, so my math says I should have exactly 100 feet of runway to spare. We'll see what happens. Ah! This thing's so cool. Now, of course, I realize that they just released a Lockheed Constellation, which I find very, very interesting. I was checking that one out. Apparently, it doesn't have all the systems modeled on it yet, but it still has quite a bit of cool things on it. 80 knots. Oh my gosh. This is going to come exactly as close as I calculated. Oh, I don't like this. I don't like it.
Osprey, gear up. Gear selected up.
Oh my gosh. I don't know if I'm actually going to safely be able to pull this off.
Gear up, lights up.
Got it. An 850 horsepower sports plane. So not only do they make sports car, they make sports planes. That's pretty cool. Nice. I think we did it.
Flaps up. Flaps going up.
Off we go. Now, the interesting thing is we're going to bring the flaps up on this thing, and this thing's going to like zoom, zoom. And then as soon as it happens, my little automatic flight elevator can... elevator was that. Flight engineer is going to immediately take my power down. It's like, aw.
Just 2600 RPM.
And he did. Great to see a lot of friends. I'm going to go ahead and get myself all on my way here before I start talking. This thing has quite a bit of coordination involved. Notice I'm using water injection here. I bet a Cessna can't be water injected. That'd be kind of a neat trick.
Meter power set. Climb power. Setting climb power.
Come around this way a little bit. Being quiet, but this requires a lot of concentration. There we go. Oh yeah, rudder coordination. Couple blasts of elevator trim, and I think we're just about good to go on our climb here. I love this thing. To turn on the automatic pilot, you have to click this switch first, and then there's a big thing on the floor. You have to slap that thing on, and now you're automatic. Ah, sorry to hear that, Rick. Sorry to hear that, Rick. All right, we're on our way.
Checks complete.
I'm noticing I am not picking up that channel that I've dialed in here for my VOR. I'm just going to go double check here. 109. I'm going to check my frequency as well. I'm pretty confident it's supposed to be 109. Let me go see real quick. If not, of course, I can always fly towards it. We might also be too far away from it to actually pick it up at this time, in which case I'm just going to make my heading about 44 degrees and just kind of make my way until I do pick it up. So one of the cool things is this autopilot. Oh, there it goes. Ha-ha! I'm not a loser. Okay, localizer mode go. Here we go. All right, the Vertigo is the VL3 with a turboprop. Oh my gosh, that sounds like fun. I got to check that out. That's got to be an interesting video. So we took the VL3, which is an aircraft that already has an excessive amount of performance, and we're going to go ahead and make it 850 horsepower, which sounds a little bit like one of the, what we call the T6s, the PT6s, the ones, the turboprop, basically light attack training planes. Man, those things move. Ah, such a fast plane. All right, I'm just going to make sure everything's okay on this end. I could probably climb a little more aggressively here, but I don't want to do it too much. And we are on our way. All right, let's take a look who's with us today. Welcome back, Ted. Welcome back, Laughter Road. Welcome back, Simon. Welcome back, Loaded Alarm. Welcome back, USAPR. Welcome back, GamerSense88. Welcome back, the Dr. Reaper. Welcome back, Vesper Way. Brash Nat. I don't recognize you right away. You'll have to forgive me on that one. Carter Gamer YouTube. Okay, I think you can definitely have that one. I don't recognize that one either, but welcome anyway. Coming over on this side, I'm not sure who this is. I'm not sure who this is, although I see that they're also passing with a Vertigo as well. And I can see way, way, way off in the distance, 5130. Those folks are probably aiming here. Like I said, for us, we're going to go the northern route, and then we're going to come along the canal at low altitude. Not that we're supposed to, but again, we'll be perfectly fine with it. All right, let's make sure this thing's working properly. First things first, how hot are we? Kind of cold. Let's go ahead and flip our cowl flaps closed a little bit. Right now, they're cranked all the way open. I just think it's amazing that these things are so wide that they actually create drag on you. Yikes. Let's see. Rick Howell mentions he wants the P-51 and the F4U. Oh, yes. So one of the big news is, for people who missed it, I'm sure everybody heard this from last time, though, is on the 18th, supposedly Microsoft is going to be releasing their next big DLC. We're going to be getting the F-18, which is super fun. We're also going to be getting an air racing thing that's going to have a bunch of really, really high-performance warbirds. Unfortunately, they're not going to be, like, the warbird. They're going to be modified racing airplanes, but that does not mean that they're not going to be awesome, which I think is awesome. All right, I'm going to go check on my pressurization and stuff. I don't think I actually said it correctly before I took off. Shame on me. Shame. Put that up to 6,000, and we're going to go ahead and set the cabin to 1,000 feet. That looks pretty good there, and we'll set the cabin rate to that one as well. Got to double check to make sure the temperature's good. Good. All right, let's pop back over here. Swinging this way, and we get to see the beautiful mountain range here. And like I said, this is an incredible country because you have so many people who live in such a small area, and then it's like country as far as you can see. Oh man, this is so cool. You can look out the window and see that ancient radial engine just kind of happily chugging along until it fails and catches fire, or it gets really hot or too cold or something bad happens to it. But that's part of the fun. Looking down, I'm noticing I could still be a little bit warmer, but my bigger concern here is that my oil temperature starts to climb as this starts to climb. So under load, unfortunately, I can't do anything nice here. Shucks. We're going to go ahead and level off at 6,000 feet today because that should give us plenty of zoom to be able to cruise across these mountains as well as get to our destination at a reasonable time. Taking a peek at the DME, it's about 28 minutes. Not when I say get up to cruise speed, it won't take 28 minutes. Again, I'm so tickled that the autopilot on this thing consists of, a couple switches and a clutch that disengages the actual motor itself. That's just, so ancient. Again, I'm gushing here, but too bad. We tried this flight a little bit earlier today just to make sure everything was possible with it, and one of the things I ran into is the aircraft was too heavy to safely get airborne and ended up eating a bunch of bushes, which was a little unfortunate, but it happens. Now, one of the things so super cool about this is as I pick up speed here, I've actually got to close my cowl flaps because it starts creating extra drag. I just think that's so interesting. All right, let's see how everybody else is doing. I think everybody else is sneaking up. I'm a pretty easy target to follow. So in the news, some kind of fun things are coming down the pipe. I did finally get to go flying last weekend, which is super exciting. My last 15 flights up to that point were canceled either due to weather, the door falling off the airplane. We had a situation where somebody let the battery discharge. We had a situation where one of the tires had a flat spot on it because somebody probably hit the brakes a little too hard. We had another incident with the plane where everything was perfectly fine. It was great, but it was impossible to start the engine. Now, the interesting thing I was mentioning earlier is, come on, baby, start my engines kind of a thing. But believe it or not, in the real plane, and like even a little Cessna 172, it requires basically a rain dance in order to successfully get the thing going from time to time. I mean, when you're sitting there cranking, it just does not catch. Remember, a lot of those old engines were carbureted like this one is, and they just do not want to start. So hopefully someday I get to fly an airplane that's got a better engine. All right, let's pick up a little bit of speed here. I think I've picked up a pretty good job. I'm coming at it at 245, which is way past my top speed recommendation on this. And notice my time to get there now has dropped down to 20 minutes. All right, you can go ahead and switch to cruise flight. Same. Excellent. Cool thing is we have 2 sets of superchargers on this, which is just like awesome. And I'm only carrying, as you can see, half a tank of fuel on this thing right now because this could probably get me back to the United States just with what I'm carrying. And I have a whole backup tank on the outside as well. One of the things I am so tickled with, and I've complained about this in the past, is I have an oil gauge. I've never seen an airplane that actually burns oil so much that it has its own backup oil tank in it. You actually have a switch at the top, and like I say, I always get so tickled by stuff like this, that you can actually transfer oil in and out of different engines, as well as that little reserve tank here. You can actually make it go in both directions, which is like, okay. And the other thing I got a kick out of is you actually have an engine spark advance switch, so you can actually advance the sparks on the individual engines if you are running at certain types of RPMs and power bases. And the other thing I always get a kick out of with this plane, I know I've said this before, but this is just so much fun, is all the circuit breakers back here actually work. So every single switch here, if I click these things off, it'll actually do something to my airplane here. And the other neat thing is you got a whole extra set of them coming down the side here. And you, of course, got everything else. But unfortunately, like I said, shame a bunch of the other radios don't work. I just love stuff like that. I'm sorry. All right, we're on our way. Now for Rogs, creeping up on me in the TBM. So Lafarog, how difficult is it to keep up on this thing? Like I said, I'm making pretty good time here, but I am pretty high drag because I have these gigantic propellers and all sorts of airplane here that kind of gets in the way. You gotta love this really old school aerial here for the ADF antenna. Oh man, that's getting old school. You can also see where they have the little cooler system. Oh, it's so neat, so neat. Of course, like I said, Pan America. Cool. All right, so let's talk about what we see here. So we're flying over Panama today. Panama, like I said, pretty wild country, Spanish-speaking country, kind of right in the middle of America. Not, what am I saying? South Central America. Sorry about that. It's been a long week. Trust me when I say it's been a long week. Neat thing about this country, of course, is the canal. For those of you keeping up on current events, you probably heard that they're actually planning to build another canal in Costa Rica to basically act as a competitor to this one. Well, the neat thing about that canal, of course, is basically you have the entrance to this gigantic lake. That's the Lago Gatun. And basically you get in there, climb up there with your boat, cruise through the lake, try not to run into any of the small islands, and then basically you pop out the locks on the opposite side. The actual canal part is pretty much on the south side. The north side basically is a giant entrance gate that takes you into, like I said, Lago Gatun, which is just absolutely awesome. Now, one of the things we will not see is all the ships that are actually going to be backed up trying to rush in there. Okay, 80% torque is just enough. So Alafo Raga is concerning my concern earlier, which was the fact that this engine did not, I'm basically killing my engines right now. I'm melting the darn thing. And he's sitting at 80% power with a single engine, having a very, very little difficulty actually keeping up. And it looks like Kanye's, is that actually an A339? Okay, I've seen everything follow me now. It'd be pretty funny if we have like a Dash 8 or something like that. Speaking of which, the Embraer 1000 just came out as well. Okay, anyway, what was it? So the island itself, like I said, we're going to come up along the north end. We're going to kind of blitz the place, and then we're going to come down along the canal at low altitude, which is probably not a safe thing to do with a plane like this, but who's going to get me in trouble here? A smarter version of me would climb to a higher altitude or use a stronger cruise power right now, because unfortunately, like I said, I'm only producing 150. I could probably get up to 180 or even 190. Simon says that he's been in the canal twice on a cruise ship. That's amazing. I've never actually got to see the thing in my, again, I've only traveled very limited in my actual world. Like, I've been to Australia is the farthest I've ever been. I have been to Europe many, many times. I've been around the United States and stuff like that. But like I said, I've never been to anything in South America. I really want to visit like Argentina or Paraguay or Uruguay or something along those lines. I've heard some pretty nice things about Brazil, but I definitely need a guide for that one. I wouldn't know what to do. Rick says he's been through the canal on a CVN. Okay, Rick, what CVN was this? Of course, the Suez Canal is insane. If you want to talk about just an unbelievable project to construct, an unbelievable amount of logistical insanity that goes through it. And of course, if you remember about 2 years ago, a ship actually got itself wedged inside the Suez Canal, which basically blocked up a tremendous amount of commerce directly behind it, which was amazing. But anyway, I think we probably could have gotten away with some bush flying here, because you can see how these little mountains and these little rivers here just kind of come through. And one of these days I'll pick a place that's a little bit flatter. We'll have to do like the deserts of Saudi Arabia or something along those lines, although there are some pretty neat mountains in that zone as well. Yep. So what we're seeing is right here, you're going to see just the edge of the Atlantic Ocean here. This is what's so wild about this country, is that if you get to a high enough altitude, let me see if we actually got this here. You got the Atlantic Ocean and you got the Pacific Ocean. It blows my mind that you have a country that you could probably bicycle in a single day from one side north to one side south. Oh wow! So I was expecting Rick to tell us that he had only been on one of the aircraft carriers. When I think of the nuclear ones, he's actually been on the Eisenhower, the Roosevelt, and the Stennis. So that's pretty impressive. That's quite the tour of duty. I'd be curious what department that was with. I see Character Gamer creeping up there. Good choice. And I see that Reaper MD is either way out in the distance, kind of making his way back towards us. Oh, there it is. There it is. Okay. Yeah, I can't do that, but you have fun. Gotcha. Anybody else just see a TBM go straight up? Okay. That's pretty entertaining. All right, what we could do is some low altitude flying. So speaking of which, in the upcoming live stream we're going to be having about 2 weeks. I'm hoping that the F-18 does release on time. Everybody's going to need to practice their low altitude techniques quite a bit, because we're basically going to use those F-18s in a very, very overly aggressive sort of fashion. A bummer to hear that, Reaper. I don't know what the deal with some of the stuff is. Speaking of which, does anybody notice that the sim update number 6 broke a lot of things inside of the simulator? I've noticed the avionics, especially with the G1000s and the G3000s, as you've probably seen in my videos, have a really bad habit of crashing on me. I've never actually had Microsoft crash before, and now it's been crashing on me like crazy. Speaking of which, let's start thinking about descending. So coming down here, I'm looking down, I got about 60 nautical miles to go. I'll be there in about 14 minutes. So it's time to do some fancy math here. So if we are at 6,000 feet and we do 500 feet per minute, that would take us 12 minutes to get down to ground level. Ideally, we want to be about 500 feet above the ground, which means when this number here says, let's call it 11 minutes, that'll be our clue to start skidooing downwards. Now, one thing I found kind of interesting when I was actually looking at the scenery in this particular region, trying to find a logical place to go, was the fact that there was no Tucumán International Airport here, which I think is a little weird because you can literally see it on the world geometry, but doesn't actually represent it as an actual airport. Rick says he was round the world cruise on the Stennis, secured the paperwork, and had to fly back to the States after getting to the Gulf. Yikes. Yikes. I never served in the Navy, so I cannot speak to that. I have a brother-in-law who did serve in the Navy, which was cool. He was one of those destroyer gunner types, and he was always talking about how it was interesting, basically patrolling off the coast of Somalia, taking pot shots at a bunch of teenagers in dinghies running at cruise ships. It's very, very interesting. DJ Sketches just brought up the fact the PMDG 737 just had news. Yes, I don't know. I'm torn. I flew the 737 first way back when they had it for FSX. I loved it. I thought it was the most detailed airplane I've ever flown in my life. Like, it was my first tube airliner other than the 777 over an X-plane, and I thought it was just incredible. I love the heads-up display. I love the avionics. I like the things that things work the way they're supposed to. It sounded incredible. It flew incredible. It was an amazing airplane. So I'm super excited to see what they did in Flight Sim. But I don't know necessarily that I'm excited for the fact it's probably going to be $80 and the low end. You know, this aircraft here scares me, the fact that it was 60 from PMDG, so it's really terrifying to see what they're going to do with an aircraft that's a little bit more. But I've talked too much. We got about 30 seconds before I need to start my descent here. Now, descending this airplane is such a peach. Basically, you point it down. I love that. Oh, this is so cool. Again, beautiful countryside. I remember when I grew up, I would always walk around in the woods and like play in the woods. Like, my woods were probably about the size of this thing here, and just this. And you can imagine all the different life that lives down here and all the different people. It's just crazy. Rick says he works on the heads-up display. Now, if I recall, Rick, you were mentioning you were working on the F-35 as well, as I recall, but maybe I've got my people confused, but I'm pretty famous for that. I have to remember the names of 120 students. It makes it interesting. All right, time to come down. Let's do it. So I'm going to stick my head down here. I'm going to flap the switch here. Go ahead and give about 1, 2, 3, 4 slaps of that. And I did it too much. Whoopsies. Let's fix that. Now, there's no vertical speed hold or anything like that. So my vertical speed hold is me sitting here twitzing this little thing until it gets exactly where I want it to be. That's about 600 feet per minute. That's going to be about 550. That'll be more than close enough to get us down. Of course, the interesting thing is because we're going to start descending, we're going to start picking up speed almost immediately. So we're going to run into a situation where we're going to get there really early. So here's what's going to happen. We're basically going to cruise right over the northern canals there. That's going to be right outside of Bahia del Limon, which is actually really cool. And Cativia, sorry, my pronunciation is terrible. Once we pop over the top of that, we're basically going to take a right turn and fly along the lakes. We're going to go down to the bottom of the locks, take a big U-turn. This plane is going to take a huge U-turn. Trust me, the controls on this thing are kind of lame in that regard. And then we'll go ahead and put the thing down on the ground. Should be awesome. F-35 simulator projects. Gotcha. Oh, that's awesome. I'm actually going to turn some lights in here. It's starting to get a little dark. It's not like dark, but it is starting to get a little tiny dark in here. Cockpit temperature, it is actually starting to get a little chilly. But again, that's because of where I live more than anything. Turn that up a little bit. Turn that up a little bit too. And there should be one on this side. I can never find which one handle it is, though. It's just one of those things. Good enough. I believe it's, yeah, here it is right here. Perfect. Have you tried Google Map Replacer for the photogrammetry? Fantana, I actually don't know what that is. I did not realize that there was a Google Map Replacer for the photogrammetry. Is that like a link to a mod or something that you could show us? That's the right idea. Although apparently you're TBM, but you must have the mod for the TBM. Abdul Mutalib says hello. Okay, let me see if I can find you, Abdul. Where are you? I've got... Oh, Aerial Cruise. I missed you. Sorry. Kanye, welcome back. I can't make you out, so if you're out there, I just can't see you at this time. Cool. Starting to get a little dark. Awesome. All right, so what you're seeing over here, this is the big lake. Like I said, basically you get picked up by the water, dumped into this lake, you cruise along this lake, and the actual canal part that you're thinking of is actually a little bit further south. This little mountain right here is right outside of Panama City, which is what you're going to see right on this side of things. We're actually going to be landing basically right in the base here. In the real world, there's an instrument approach that actually takes you between these two mountains that come in right here. It's super duper duper cool, except for the fact there's a bunch of buildings and things in the way. It doesn't seem very safe to me. All right, get ready for a turn. Our next heading, for those of you who are flying on VOR and not just following me, is going to be 145 degrees magnetic. What I'll probably do is flip on the heading hold. Well, actually, there's no heading hold on this thing. Flip on the regular hold, and then I'll go ahead and take the turn because it's going to take me a while. Which airplane did you say will have a working HUD? Stevie M, the HUD is most likely going to be represented in the PMDG 737 because they have what they call HUGs, which is basically the civilian version of like a military style HUD. The old version of the 737 that existed in FSX did have that heads-up display. So fingers crossed, extremely fingers crossed, that we'll get to see that heads-up display again when we get over into the MSFS. Of course, we should have seen the HUD inside of the 787 that Microsoft got us in the deluxe edition, but for whatever reason they chose us not to have that particular version. I'm not sore. It's just, it happens. It happens. Speaking of which, I'm not paying attention to my airplane. Nice. We can actually go ahead and depressurize the plane at this time and really pop everybody's ears. Put that switch on. Now, one thing I get a kick out of is whereas most airplanes that you probably have flown in probably have heat that comes off of the engine itself, we have a gasoline heater on this thing. And notice how many fire systems are built into it to prevent it from, killing us all when it catches fire. It's actually even cooler than that, Stevie M. Because back in the PMDG one, again, this is from FSX. We don't actually know what we have now. The heads-up display was actually rendered correctly. So if I did one of these with my head, you could see how it would start to distort the upper lines. If I move my head forward, the heads-up display would move farther away as we moved out. And if I move my head backwards, I'd only see part of the letters. It was well done. But one of the coolest things about the heads-up display is in IFR conditions, it actually will show you a representation of the runway that you're trying to land the plane on in a little digital green box, which makes it super duper cool. Interesting. It does. It has it. When I first played with it, the HUD was colored instead of just green. Rick, what aircraft are you referring to that had the colored HUD that was instead of just green? Because like I said, I only know the PMDG one. All right, we got to start thinking about leveling off. We're starting to get a little low here. So Escobar is going to be right off our right wing. I'm actually going to switch sides of the airplane real quick. I want to kind of get a good look at this. That's awesome. That's awesome. And of course, people are saying, wait, heads-up displays are supposed to do that? Yeah, no, Rick is actually correct. Got it. Got it. So it's funny, Stevie M. I have of all things, I have a private pilot check ride coming up very shortly. So one of the videos, I'm actually going to have one of my friends who is a CFI act as my torture pilot instructor, or I should say evaluator, which should be kind of a fun video for everybody to watch me bumble through it. It's nerve-wracking that I finally hit that point. Speaking of recent flights, like I was mentioning earlier, I did get to finally go flying last weekend. It's the first time out of, like I said, 15 flights. It was wild because the weather was so perfect. It was like one of these kind of days. So, of course, everybody brought their airplane out. So it was insane traffic. Like right now, this is like, oh, this is relaxing. Like behind me, yeah, like this is still relaxing compared to how many airplanes. Who's this? No, my propeller. You stay away from my elevator. Stay away from my elevator. Apparently I'm providing in-flight refueling, by the way. In case anybody needs some in-flight refueling, just feel free to come right up underneath and steal fuel directly from my gas tank with a little pipe out the window. Go away. So like I was saying, the traffic was terrible. It was so bad that air traffic control got overwhelmed and was unable to basically provide me instructions. He said VFR are basically at own risk, and he handed me back off to myself and told me to continue squawking VFR, which was just mind-boggling. I've never had that experience before in any flight I've ever flown. So, of course, what happens is I have a little tablet that tells you weather all around you and it tells you about traffic. The thing was just bright red and was blinking at me the entire flight. It was insanity. And of course, I finally get free of all the traffic, and next thing you know, I get another traffic warning. I look up, and there's this little helicopter that goes, oh, I'm just chilling here. Kind of doing one of those, and it's like, but you had the entire world to fly, and you had to exactly cross over my nose here. So, it just happens. It just happens. Not sure what's going on with that guy, but last time we saw him, he tried to go to the moon. Oh, hey, make sure Laffel Rog has a little bit of fuel, too. I'm sure that he's probably needs some after this flight. Rick Howell is saying they work on a company that makes this compact HUD for small aircraft. That's awesome. I'd hate to see how many six figures that's going to cost in order to get something like that on a Cessna 172. And to be honest, like with my little tiny little tablet phone thing, which I actually mount on a little stick right here, it works pretty good because it has 3D vision on it, so you can actually see through the airplane using the 3D vision. Like if I tip the phone this way, it'll actually show me on the map who's over in that direction. It's super duper cool. It's iFlight GPS has got that feature. It does work for flight sims, by the way. All right, let's get ready to turn. So we've got about 4 minutes to our turn. I'm actually going to disable the gyro pilot completely here. And we're going to go ahead and get ready for our next heading, which is going to put us on a course of 145. I do want to fly right over the top of the locks, though, so you can take a good look at those. There is going to be some extreme Microsoft Flight Simulator wonkiness. And we're also going to bring this aircraft down to dangerously low altitudes because those lakes are beautiful. And they're much better viewed when you can do fishing directly out of any of the passenger windows in the aircraft. All right, now, if you want to see something really cool and you want to come back here a little later on, there is a teeny tiny runway right over in this region here. I think it's called Sherman. It sits right here, and it's unbelievably sketchy. So if you're looking for a nice little challenge to kind of practice those short field skills, literally this runway right here, it's so super cool. All right, here we go. We made it. This is all the way up top. This is Cologne. This is the North Shore. Like I said, this is the northern locks of the Panama Canal. As you see, I'll go ahead and disable all my stuff on this side of things so we can actually do this properly. Off, off, off. All right, give me the wheel. All right, I can't wait to check it out. Now, the interesting thing is I've never told my co-pilot to stop cruise speeding me. So what I'm actually going to do to him real quickly is I'm going to disable him. And I'm going to go take over manual control. Of course, if I do manual control, you've really got to crack the cow flaps because there's a 50-50 shot I'm going to accidentally. Yes, absolutely. No, thank you for the good luck there. I've got my fingers. I'm confident that I can do it, but I have no idea who the DPE is or what their personality is. Sometimes you get a DPE who basically zings you just because you didn't be nice to him. And then there's other DPEs who are like, good enough, good enough, good enough. 70's passing. All right, let's go ahead and see some Microsoft Flight Simulator wonkiness here. So now this is super cool because when you look very carefully, you'll notice that they actually represented the different heights of the water using physical... That's a very flat ship. All right, let's go ahead and head this way. Okay, to the lakes. Let's try not to smack into the ground while we're on live television here. All right. So here's the concept. You basically are going to punch yourself through one of those locks, and then you're going to head right over here to the Lago, which, like I said, we're going to get nice and low and kind of pretend we're little ground scouts here. Because why not? We need to get practice for the F-18. Let's see here. Rick, compact HUD. Oh, I got to check that out, man. I got to check it out. And somebody was mentioning they had flown their first Vatsim flight, which, again, congratulations on that one. Vatsim is intimidating, but once you get the hang of it and you realize it's just normal people on Vatsim and not like some robotic, perfect, crazy, whatever you want to call controllers, it actually gets to be a lot of fun. And in the real world, when I first was flying the plane, no problem. Talking to other people, oh my gosh. You don't want to do an Air Force proud, right? No, I'm just going to fly this thing directly. Oh man, this is nice. And I like how the lights are starting to get just a little dim, just to make things a little more interesting for us. By the way, saving your view positions is the greatest thing you did. Wow. Like I said, it all depends on how chill they are. There's a lot to be said there. Now, could you imagine? Not sure what that is. I believe this is a line of predators standing cloaked. 2 to 3 check rides a day, about $2,000 a day. That's a lot of dough. That's a lot. I had to look down and go double check my engines. Yeah, they're fine so far. Getting a little tiny bit of chop here. Now we're gonna go swing this way. And we're gonna head back towards the main components here. I have to actually concentrate on what I'm doing again here. And I'm just gonna kind of straighten this out. I believe, yeah, I'm just a little tiny bit off course, but that's not bad. Because like I said, I can always pop up real aggressively and go ahead and see if I can see that big mountain right outside of Panama City. Yeah, I can't imagine failing a check ride and then having to pay another, $500, $600 to do it again. That's just insanity. Knowing how much money it costs you to get to that point, it should, not that it should be rubber stamped. They got to make sure you're competent, capable. But at the same time, jeez. Of course, I had to do some records. I've got all the players on, but I can't find anyone. Aiden, double check to make sure you're in the right server. If you are on the East USA server, you're probably going to be okay. If you're on a different server, you might not be okay. Speaking of not okay, I am going to overheat everything if I keep doing that with my poor engines here. There we go. 500. Perfect. All right. So if my calculations are roughly correct, there's the actual canal itself right there on the right. We should be able to pop over these trees and basically come rushing down it. Maybe. Maybe. We'll find out. I'm afraid to look away from things for just a second because this plane's just going to eat it right into the ground when I'm not watching. How are we doing back there? Everybody's doing fine. It is starting to get a little dark. And we're coming up on the canal. Whenever you see those old pictures from, like, you know, the early 1900s, late 1800s of people, like, blasting their way through the rainforest, you're looking at the pictures that basically came from this area. What's a little engine fire on a live stream? Oh, Rick, it won't be the first or last time. Yeah, the way I look at it, Stevie, it's, what are you really evaluating? Somebody who can pass a test, or are you evaluating somebody who's going to be a safe pilot? I know that sounds weird, but it's also coming from the perspective of I teach for a living. So when I talk to students, you know, some students miss the mark on things, but the key thing is, what have you learned and do you grow from it? Is almost more valuable, and having an attitude of wanting to learn and wanting to grow and wanting to be safe, to me, is so much safer than so much of that other stuff. You know, I know people could memorize every single question on a test and get it perfect, but I ask them later on, okay, can you apply that situation? Or here's an unusual situation with the airplane. What do you do? And all of a sudden, people just fall apart because there's no knowledge that can possibly cover everything that you can study out of a book. Knowing how something works and knowing how to take it apart, put it back together is so stupidly valuable. Again, here I'm gushing. It's the teacher thing. To me, than memorizing every single fact and knowing every technical detail. You know, I can tell you the stall speed of a Cessna 172, sure. But you know what else I can tell you? I can tell you how the electrical system is set up in such a way that if you had a failure of one system, you could still run the engine. Or if you had a failure of a separate system, you could pull just the right fuses to have exactly enough electricity to get you home with no lights. You know, little things like that. But, like, it wouldn't be covered in the safety manual. You'd have to improvise. You know, I always joke to my flight instructors years ago as well as recently, I'm the best pilot when things don't go right. That's just me. Too much flight simulator time, I think. I wonder why. All right, let's sneak on down here. And let's get dangerous. Yeah, I'm not perfect, Fontana. Oh, I love this. This is going to be us in F-18s. But keep in mind, it's going to be the desert, just so everybody knows. It's going to have to be the desert. And I almost guarantee, for my good Iraq War fans, it'll probably be from Al's Garage. Good Iraq War reference. By the way, please do not fly underneath the bridge. The bridge is solid all the way down. If you fly underneath it, you'll become one with the bridge. Let me get a little bit higher here. This is great. I love it. Uh-oh. Ah, that's weird. Don't go underneath it. Don't do it. Well, GamerSense88 is going to try it anyway. Oh, psych this out. Oh, by the way, floating cars. Very cool. Very cool. Okay, so now we've reached the south clock. Sorry about that. We have reached the south locks, which is basically going to be the southernmost part, obviously, that we're going to have here. And we're actually going to be getting to our terminus just basically over these mountains here. I can't help it, Stevie M. I'm sorry. And this is so cool here because if you actually take a look, you can see that the two water levels are completely different. And that's not supposed to look like that, but I'll accept it. I'll accept it. Oh, so Rick says if you turn off crash damage. Oh, that's the secret. Oh. Maybe I should start turning off crash damage. The problem is Microsoft doesn't log your flight if you don't have crash damage turned on. So it's just kind of an interesting thing. One thing I absolutely love is the coastal highway here. One of these days, somebody's going to make a game where it simulates the whole world and you can drive instead of fly. I literally can't wait. Cannot wait. I'd love to drive it. Could you imagine to drive along, like, in the middle of everywhere on Earth? That would be... I'd buy that game immediately, even if it were $100. It's so cool. All right, let's go take a look at Panama City and bring this thing in for a landing. So our ultimate, like I said, our terminus is basically right over these hills. You can't miss it. We're going to fly right over the top of it in a second. But I do want to see all the cool buildings downtown. I should probably tell my little co-pilot guy it's time to get the plane ready to land, but I'm pretty confident with him. Okay, buddy. Go ahead and get us ready to land.
Cooling turbine. Normal. Fuel booster pumps.
I cannot believe how much right foot this airplane takes. I just want to get a good look at the buildings downtown, then I'll come around for our landing.
Fuel tank selectors.
Isn't that pretty? Sorry.
Crossfeed off. Hydraulic Bypass valve. Down. No smoking signs. On.
Yeah, you have to tell my passengers in the back. You know, there's a businessman. Basically explain to them, hey guys, you got to put all those cigarettes out. I love this. Check this out. That's a really cool building. If somebody can give me the name of that, that'd be awesome. I'm going to have to look it up later on just in case. But like, that's so cool. So normally we'd be landing at Tokumen, which is like basically going to be right over there. That's the international airport. But unfortunately, they didn't model it. So we're going to have to come swing around and land at Marcos Gelibert International. All right, here we go. Oh, right foot, right foot, right foot. Passengers are all screaming in the back. So I guess you can call this a very, very, very long downwind base final. Oh my god, I could not imagine flying California in Vatsim. We should do it next time. I had such a time when I was up at Toulouse, France and Spain. Those guys were so polite to me, though. I was terrible. There's actually one of the coolest events that I've been to with Vatsim is when they do what they call a Bradley Bash, and they basically open up all of New England, where I live. So you get like Connecticut, and you get, you know, all the big Boston controllers and stuff like that. But what you do is you don't go to like Boston or something like that, because you're basically going to get wrecked when you try to come in for a landing. What you do is you go to like one of the nearby airports, like Plymouth or something like that, and you come around. All right, time to start slowing down. Okie dokie.
Flaps 20. Setting flaps 20.
I guess you could call this a down leg? I'm not even sure. Everybody's like, why are you going out to sea? I need about 10 miles to finish this turn, so you all getting too close to me, not gonna lie.
20 flaps set. Mistress Ridge, wait. Auto Ridge.
There's the RPM coming up.
Gear up and down, please. Gear up and down.
There might be an event tonight, Rick. So a lot of times what the Vatsim people will do is they'll actually organize events where they'll get all the controllers available for an entire region, and they'll just kind of go at it for an evening. I've been to one of those events. They are, oh my gosh. If you're new to Vatsim, you might want to avoid them unless you're one of those folks who likes to go ahead and, you know, a masochist kind of a thing. So check this out. So what we're going to do here is we're going to come out, and then we're going to come back around to be able to line up at the airport. Carter Gamer, you cut me. I had dibs. Yes, it does have the turning radius of an SR-71. Are you kidding? I can't outturn an SR-71. All right, here we go. Base to final. Runway 1. Marcos Gelibert International.
2500 RPM set. Cal flaps. Plus 3 degrees. Cal flaps set. ADI. ADI off. ADI is off. Barely lights. Speed good. Extending lights.
Anybody else think it's a bad idea to put a mountain in the way of a runway approach? I'm just saying.
Carbine cold. Set cold. Before landing checks complete.
Love it. Let's do it. Now, the cool thing is, I have a stall speed of like a Beechcraft Baron here. Bad news, I have the landing distance of an F-16, but we'll deal with it. I love this. If you look down, I'm just basically following the coast. And this airplane, I will not crash. This thing is a treasure. It is not something that can be replaced, so I'm not going to go eat ocean, even though I probably could. All right, here we go. Now, why would you put this approach between two mountains? Again, I see this all the time. It's so dangerous. Why would you put that mountain there? I'm gonna check to make sure my landing gear down for the nth time here. All right, looks good. Gas, undercarriage, mixture, propeller, flaps, light speed. Let's do it. Also, right traffic. It's actually not a hard plane to land, but when you do an approach like I just did, it's actually pretty annoying. What channels do I recommend for Slight Sim? Hang on just a second. Right on the white bars. We're here. Funny, funny. It doesn't do that on this airplane. It does squeak, though. Haha, we made it. All right, folks, if you'd like to join us for a photo, as always, I'm going to come over here and basically do a 180 right here on the grass. Ah, that was nice. That was nice. Woo. Okay. Man, my feet are like shaking here. That was a lot of work. All right, let's go sneak onto this big little pile of grass right here, and this should be a perfectly good place for a picture. All right, as always, thanks for watching. This, like I said, has been kind of a fun. This was a very relaxing flight. It was pretty neat to be able to take something like this out for a cruise. The planes like this are just, I don't know, they got a special place in my heart. Now I'm going to go ahead and tap that brake real quick. Go ahead and order him to do the after landing checks here. Okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Give it just a little bit of power. And we're going to let everything kind of slow down. And, whoa, that's a little too, whoa, too much, too much. I love how the gauges wobble. So accurate. All right, we did it. Oh, passengers are somebody brought something kind of big in here. Give everybody the kind of moment to go ahead and get caught up here. Oh, I just saw a massive Ferrari. This is a great turnout, folks. And like I said, it's always great to see everybody come out today. At the end, like I said, all times, I always like to go ahead and see if there's anybody who has any specific questions or anything like that, as well as any recommendations for any videos that they would like to see. Of course, this is always a great chance, if something's coming up. I think next time what we're going to be doing is we're definitely going to be flying F-18s, assuming Microsoft releases everything. And it's going to be very, very low altitude, and it's probably going to give everybody an awful lot of anxiety. So it should be a super fun flight as far as I'm concerned. So after that, of course, we'll kind of continue. Like I said, I've got some good stuff coming up next week dealing with night flying in the future. Like I said, I'm going to do a little bit more IFR stuff because that seems to be where the interest is. Obviously, when we have a new set of airplanes, we'll have a new set of flying videos as well. Should be super duper fun for that as well. Whoop, I can't miss Ted. Can't miss Ted. What a great turnout. What a great turnout. All right, well, everybody is mulling that question over, and the good YouTube gods are desynchronizing everything. I wonder what would happen if you did a maximum performance takeoff with this plane. Now, I'm not going to crash into the water because that's just, like I said, it's too much of an airplane to wreck here. Let's go ahead and line myself up here. Doopy-doo-doo-doo-doo. This is not what it looks like. This is just me pushing the plane, I swear. All right, let's give that a shot. Just want to see what happens if you do a maximum performance takeoff. What's going to happen to my lovely engines? Let's do it. Ha! Let's test it. Okay, so first of all, let's open up my cow flaps all the way. Fuel pumps are turned on, I believe. Let me check, because I don't want to have like my fuel just kind of cut out on me or something like that halfway up the climb. That would be no fun. Fuel booster pumps on. Oh my gosh, let's see how much power I can get into this thing. 20 degrees of flaps. Oh, here we go, here we go, here we go. Wait until you see how hard I'm going to be on these throttles here. Ready, set. Okay, well, looks like we're about 20 degrees. Nope, one more notch. Okay, here we go, here we go, here we go. All right, here goes, here goes. Go! Oh, yeah, that's good. That's good. Look at it. Look at this. Oh, yeah, this is much better. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. About half a second, I'm going to hear this sound. Oh, no! I wonder if I could do a tail stand with this one. Oh! Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, no, 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 no. No, 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 no. Oh, boy. No, 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 no. No, you don't. Uh-oh. No! I guess my extra engine power fails when the other side fails. Oh, no, 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 no! Whew. That was close. All right, folks, as always, have a wonderful night and enjoy. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you all again soon. Cheers, and enjoy.